You and I are constantly bombarded by misinformation from politicians, celebrities, and media personalities who demonize guns and gun owners. Their accounts are contrary to my experience as a responsible gun owner, a retired police officer, and a professional competitive shooter. I have listened to their lies and I've taken their punches, but I refuse to stay silent any longer because I know a lot of women who have something to say and they won in the game. They're ready to play offense with the truth.
The truth is, we all want the same thing: to protect ourselves, our families, and to be safe in our communities. The DC Project is a nationwide grassroots organization made up of women from every demographic. We come from all different walks of life, but we are united in preserving our Second Amendment rights. As we share our experiences, we push back against gun control lies and oppose those who demand our rights be restricted.
As an immigrant from Venezuela, I saw how easy it was for freedom to die. My family and I watched tyranny destroy our home. In Venezuela, the media, celebrities, and politicians repeated the same anti-gun messages until people found it normal and acceptable to give up their freedoms. The reality is, none of it is normal or acceptable. Hungry and helpless, Venezuelans are now unable to protect themselves. Now, as a proud American, I am determined to guard against the same things happening here.
We constantly hear about common sense gun control, like universal background checks, banning assault weapons, ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and gun show loopholes. Every city that is facing massive crime waves have put these policies into place. Common sense tells me that they don't work. So why do people still believe the idea that those policies save lives? Actual common sense is holding criminals accountable, not letting them out of jail or encouraging them to be more confrontational. Common sense is not stealing the right of the American people to protect themselves. This is the message that America needs to hear.
The DC Project works to reduce firearm accidents by campaigning for education in schools. We counter the false gun control lies by testifying in hearings and meeting our legislators. We equip our friends, our families, and our communities to know the truth. Gun owners are good people.
America is a beacon of freedom. The Second Amendment is vital piece in ensuring that our kids can have a free country to grow up in. We stand with the lawmakers who support the Constitution, and we provide armor from the attacks by the gun control lobby.
Join the DC Project today. Become a member, donate, or subscribe to our newsletter for updates on how we educate, advocate, and preserve our Second Amendment rights for generations to come.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment. Concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. And it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Well, hey there, Rob. Welcome
to Eye on the Target Radio. Glad you could attend. So no, it's another beautiful Sunday. It's kind of crazy. We're in mid-November in Ohio, and winter has not.
Right, I don't know where it's at. I know it's lurking right behind the bushes somewhere.
It is, but it hasn't. I mean, we've had a little bit of snow. We've gotten a little bit of rain, because typically in Ohio it is cold, wet, rainy now. This is the slop weather. We don't have that, so it's been nice.
We had a pretty good week this last week. We did have one day where we had 4 or 5 inches of snow, and then it went away in about an hour. But
it's all better. It's all better. It's all better. So are you?
People are getting ready for deer season now, so I get 100 calls. What kind of gun should I buy? What about this? What about that? What's the difference between this and that and the other thing? And
no, they're not getting ready for deer season. They're in deer season. I'm seeing people with deer left, right, and center.
Well,
so I think it's the youth
bow hunt
shoot,
early, and then gun season starts. I think it actually starts this weekend for the.
Well, and I think that there's youth shooting was now, because
right,
I've seen
for years though it was always the Monday following Thanksgiving. So they've now we've got so many deer, they've expanded it to give more people time to get out in the woods and get the almost like raccoons. There's so many of them. They need to.
So when somebody says to you, "Can I hunt on your land?" How much land do you need to be able to let somebody hunt or multiple somebody's hunt? What are the rules of thumb?
There isn't really no rule of thumb, but in reality, it's not like you're chasing them down. You need a spot to sit that you can see about 30 yards, and
that's
all it takes. So you just need to find a spot where the deer seem to use that as a highway, and then a spot where you can sit and watch that spot.
And that's kind of it.
Stand hunting gets you something. To walk is a waste of time.
Because
all you're doing is chasing deer to somebody else.
Because you make more noise than.
Well, I've seen people where the deer just ducks down in the weeds, and the people walk right past it 2 foot away. I mean,
they just don't know.
They don't even see it. I mean, it's amazing how that big giant deer can
disappear,
blend into the background and not move or wiggle anything.
Now, see, it would be. It's not like they're dogs, right? Like the dog would be like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see somebody," or "I'm scared to see somebody," and their things would move.
But I mean,
tails would wag.
You get a 200-pound buck that can walk through the woods without any noise, no crack in the brush or anything. You get a 3-pound squirrel that sounds like he's dragging a washing machine behind him.
I was just gonna ask, how come deer?
Apparently, squirrels shuffle their feet when they walk or something. And when I was a kid, my uncle came back from a couple tours in Vietnam, and he taught us to walk on the outside edges of our feet in a semi-V pattern, so that you didn't break up as much foliage at that time.
So you walk on the sides of your feet?
Yep, on the outside edges. And then it also then you had to keep your mouth shut and not be yakking away all day long. And
I don't know how you could do that.
Well, and that's the thing, is it takes a lot to. I mean, somebody who's just sitting on a stand and not fidgeting or eating or doing something or sleeping or whatever. It takes it's a patience skill that comes, I guess, with age. It's not. Young kids can't hardly do it. Old men tend to fall asleep, so somewhere in the middle of that is a spot where you stay.
Because I'm warm, I'm stationary, I'm sleeping. Is that it?
Right.
So did you see, I mean, talking about squirrels and the noise that they make, did you see the internet thing where the squirrels were superheroes?
No, I didn't.
So what they've done is they have taken pictures of squirrels in motion, and they're like, apparently squirrels are tiny
Oh, then when
superheroes.
they land, when
When
they
they
jump out of the
land,
they land on it just like Spider-Man does. And
yeah,
stuff, huh?
like 3 legs and different poses. It's the
You know,
best.
I know when I was, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, my uncle would take us out squirrel hunting, but we walked ahead, yakking to each other, doing stuff, and the squirrels would watch us and walk around the backside of the tree, and then he would be following like 50 yards behind us, and he would shoot the squirrels off the trees as they were trying to hide from us.
Hmm.
So he's being quiet, but the squirrel doesn't see him, but they're paying attention to us
And
too.
you guys were supposed to be
We
quiet,
were
but
squirrel dogs, is what we were. We just didn't know that we were doing that.
that is so so funny.
We were out there when the squirrel would come around, he'd shoot it, and then we had to go off the trail and pick it up and bring it back to him and everything. So basically, we were just a
They were
hunting
squirrel-
dog.
we were hunting dogs. They were just
At
in
the end
boy
of the day, he
form.
gave us a couple of cheeseburgers. We were all good.
You were happy. And then go home and you get squirrel stew.
But yep,
Yep.
there's techniques to hunting, and if you don't have hunting heritage, if your family didn't hunt or anything, it's a long learning curve if you're doing it on your own. If you've got somebody that can teach you, then it's much easier to pick up on.
Got it. So because I've been watching people hunt, and then somebody reached out and they asked me if I knew of a place where someone could hunt, and then they said, we'd like some land that we could deer hunt, and we'll pay. And it's like, well, what's the going rate to be a hunter on somebody's land? Is it like deer jerky? Is it like a couple pounds of venison? How does that all work? I just
Well, the thing
didn't
is,
know.
the thing about it, a guy who's going to go out and golf on somebody else's land will pay whatever $45 for a round of golf, and then he's got to go home. If you give a guy a whole season of time on your deer-infested golf course,
Deer infested golf course. Got it. So my place. The funny part is that we've got a couple folks who come and hunt here, and one of them, they're like, okay, well, we've got this perfect spot in the back, in the way back, and we'll do this. Our house is 1,000 feet from the road, and we have been putting in a pond. And so, in the aspect of putting in a pond, doesn't everybody need a bulldozer? We had a bulldozer. So the bulldozer was down there, so when it wasn't running, it was just sitting there. And I'm like, if you want to hunt and you want to get deer, just go sit on the bulldozer, because they don't even pay attention
right?
to anybody on the bulldozer.
And the bulldozer already stinks like 100 different things: diesel fuel and
And
grease
people
and
and- yeah.
mud and
Mhm.
whatever else. So they just completely ignore that, so they would walk right by it. I mean, I know plenty of times when I see deer when I'm on my tractor, and it's like they don't pay attention to the tractor at all. And but if you're out there walking, they pay attention to that.
You're paying attention to that, because that's a different thing. So
My
I
dad
don't know.
asked me years ago, "How's the deer hunting?" I'm like, "It's finding them. It's the tricky part. They're kind of big as a target."
It's finding them. They're sneaky, but they're big.
Right. I mean, once you see one, they're kind of big.
So
Hard to miss.
so tell me this: you get a deer, and then you have to take it to the butcher shop. But if you have a
You
cow,
don't have to. You can do it yourself. It's just a lot of people.
no. If you get a deer, you have to take it to the butcher shop. Because I don't know how to get the McNuggets out of the deer. Oh wait, it's not McNuggets, but
Well,
you
they
know what I
show-
mean.
Everywhere they show you a picture of what parts are what, and you just
Right.
have to cut it and decide how you want to present it, whether you want bones in or bones out or anything. And
Sure.
if you really if you're really dedicated to this, you already have a meat saw and some other stuff, so you can slice up your own steaks and all that stuff. If you don't, then you got to do it the old-fashioned way with a knife, and it's not as pretty.
It's not as
it is
pretty.
with-
So I was just wondering though, do like the butcher shops keep a certain amount of inventory open for deer season? Because
think-
if you
well,
have
some
a
of them
cow,
just special-
sometimes you have to take a long time to get your
Right. Well,
cow
some
in
of them
queue.
they specialize in deer, and then too they know this is like a big week type thing, so
Mhm.
they'll just fit it in and do it. And I think they hire some extra help to help them with that. But they usually keep the hide and stuff, so it's part of the
It's part of the
thing.
payment.
So there's it's there's a lot of stuff in them. I mean, if you you can mix it with some other types of meat and make it into like you can just grind the whole thing, make it into ground meat or something, and then it's actually really good. But you have to almost add fat to it because it's too lean to.
Because venison is extremely lean meat. The interesting part is that, I mean, it really meets the definition of organic meat, because there's nothing else in there. I mean, it's not like there's, anybody's fed them chemicals or something. Nobody's chasing them around to give them a shot. So it really is the healthiest way to eat. So venison, it's what's for dinner.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So last week when we got off the show, I actually got in my car and I jetted down to the state capitol for a trade show for the next couple of days with the Ohio School Board Association. And so I was with the folks from Faster Saves Lives, the school safety program. And the reason I'm talking about this a little bit was that it is amazing to me to see the different mindsets of people that are involved in schools, and how many of them are like, they are going to make schools safe by taking guns off the face of the earth, and that just the aspect of you saying gun causes them to have an apoplectic fit
Well, the thing
and
is,
be done.
historically, you could just look back in time at a time when there wasn't guns and see how peaceful and how much we all just got along and sat around a campfire singing Kumbaya and everything.
I think you're pulling my leg.
No, I think at that time they used like the boiling oil and like big
Trebuchet and
clubs and knives
rocks
and spears and stuff like that. We just go for whatever is the easiest weapon to use. I mean, you don't sweat as much swinging an AR-15 as you do a Claymore broadsword. So
Okay. Yeah, it's not
it's
as heavy.
completely different muscle set.
Right. It was extremely interesting to me. But then periodically you'd get this breath of fresh air where somebody walks up and says, our school's talked about it. Our school is ready to do something. We're doing something. We have done something. And you get to have a conversation. Or they say, my school's not ready for that. What else do you have? And so there was that. But so to me, it's very interesting because one guy who was the school resource officer in a school that was in one of the major cities, and he come up, and his little smart aleck answer was, we don't need any more guns in the school than what they're already bringing in the door. And it's like, well, I'm not sure how to even respond to that, which means that if a gun comes into the school by a bad actor to do bad things, you're going to say, we don't need any other guns because that one's already here.
Right. Maybe what they need is, those like fogging systems that they use so when they know something's going on, they just hit the button and it locks all the doors, sounds the alarm, and then knocks everybody in the whole place out. So
then the police come in with a gas mask and
then
sort them out.
through it and take who they want out, and everybody else just sits around with a headache, puking for a couple of weeks.
No.
Just think of all the blue snot that you'd be making.
I don't know. That may make a good movie, but it doesn't make a good reality. We'll just say by any means.
Maybe they need like 40 really vicious dogs that just roam the hallway, and then they call them in before the class changes.
Before the bell rings. So
they
really mean it when they give you the pass
so
for the bathroom.
If you're not back in the class by the time the dogs come back out, shame on you.
They give you the pass to the bathroom and tell you to run. And then they start playing that song Old Red, right? I don't know. So yeah, I know, but crazy. So it's just kind of it's sad funny. I mean, not funny.
Well, the thing is if you look at it, it's always been force on force. Who's got the
the biggest
prepared,
hammer? Who's more prepared? Who's
right? I mean, it's
yeah.
the biggest hammer that swings the fastest is the winner. And so, by training, by having the stuff on call and in hand, that's your best bet. And the ones who say they're not ready for it, I mean, are they ready at least for the trauma med part of it? Are they at least ready for some of the mindset part of it that you
Some were, and so that was a good thing, was that there was conversations about training on mindset, training on trauma, training on identifying, and
and it may be that training on mindset gives them a little boost to where they start thinking about it more, and then by the next year they're ready to actually move to the next step.
And that's kind of my hope. We've got a listener here that says that he's worked in public education for 12 years in Missouri, and there's a belief that it won't happen in their school. But the SROs, the school resource officers, the safety resource officers, they understand the risk. And I think that there's some others that are in the school that potentially do too, and that would be
like they say,
like the janitor, the lunch lady, the administrator. Not everybody that's in a school is a teacher.
Well, I like to tell you, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and be ready if you need to. And so, what's it cost you? A couple of days of your time for the year, maybe a couple $100, but you're prepared and ready, and it's not like it's something that you gotta, like the dog, where you gotta watch it every minute because it might bite the wrong person.
Well, yeah, and so when you have training, it's really funny. And so another listener says that we need to educate the parents in addition. And that is so true, because there are schools who've said they're going to do this, and the parents lose their minds. And it's like, you don't understand. You want somebody to stop the active killer before he becomes an active killer. You want to stop it. And so by putting your head in the sand, you are not stopping anything. And so the faster, time is the only thing that matters. The faster that you can shut it down, the earlier you can identify it, the quicker that you can get everybody to safety, the faster you can draw the line that says that they can't get through me to you, to all of you, kind of thing. But it's really funny, because there's some people in the schools that are like, wow, I'm already busy teaching. And it's like, yeah, but on the time that you're on break or at lunch, or who else is in the school, and do you have a teaching aid? And oh, by the way, they're not asking you to be Rambo and go run after somebody, but they are asking you to draw the line and protect those in your charge. And we know that school teachers will throw their bodies on their children to protect them. So we know their heart is there. We just need the education. We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so we are back. So we were talking about, I mean, I want to say hypocrisy, kind of. You know, there's this spot where they just have this belief that if they say it's safe, it'll be safe, and if they say the kids will pay attention to whatever, it'll be all good, and it can't happen in their neighborhood, and
everything that involves a human being is two levels of hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one team says yay, one team says nay, and they'll never get along, like it or not. I mean, you can see it in certain areas of the world where they're actually shooting at each other. Other places we just argue with each other.
Right. Well, right now, yeah, we're arguing in the courts.
If it was all one way or the other, they'd only make electric cars. They'd only make electric furnaces. They'd only make one kind of hamburger. They don't need.
You don't need choices. Is that what you're saying? You don't need choices.
If we all thought the same, we'd all do exactly the same thing.
Well, there is a. Well, I wanna roll
along
out
the line of be then.
Well, I want to roll out a different group of people who are like rules for thee and rules for me, you know, that type of a thing, because I think it sort of ties right to it. You know, let's just make it to where, like in schools, the only person with it's not that they don't believe in guns, they just don't believe in you having a gun. They don't believe in anyone having a gun except for the guy that they call, because when they dial 911, they expect a guy with a gun to come.
You know as well as I know that there's probably some kids in that school that could handle that job better than any of them.
Why not? Yeah.
They're faster. They're better shots. They're more.
We know
they can duck down and get up and run and do
that
everything.
that whole flexibility and maneuverability. Is that what you're saying?
There's a ton of things, but who everybody got up this morning and saying, I feel fine, and then some of them don't. It's like,
Okay.
who do you trust? You
I
know?
don't know. I don't know who you trust. So, yeah. Yeah, so they're saying each state is so different. So one of our callers is saying each state is so different in the approach needed for them to get into schools. You're right. Um, so maybe have reps for each state. So we are having conversations like Faster Saves Lives, which is the organization that I was with. They are working on expanding into different states, depending on how those states and what those rules are for those states. But I think that part of it is trying to figure out how do you approach parents, how do you approach the school resource officer versus the administrator versus the school board versus the teachers, because they all look at it from a slightly different
And some
point
of
of
it,
view.
I mean, the rules are that they, like, you can't have a gun within 1,000 feet of the school. Some schools, you just can't have a gun at all. Other schools, it's up to the school board to make that decision
Right.
who's allowed to have a gun. So, depending on which state and how the rules are written for that particular part of it.
Well, and that's kind of the point I was going to get to next is how the rules are written, and the rules are written legislatively. So the legislators get to write the rules. You know, some of the most renowned anti-gun legislators spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on armed security. So you can't have a gun and I can't have a gun, but if I have $100,000, I could hire somebody. But if I don't have $100,000, it sucks to be me. Is that and that's kind of this thing to where the government will pay for a security detail for AOC or for Raphael Warnock, or and when you start to look at who Cori Bush out of Missouri, who is absolutely vehemently anti-gun, so she spent, while she was running for office, $65,000 in 3 months on armed security protecting her.
That was either a lot of guns or one that thought he was worth a lot of money, one of the two.
I don't know. I hope he was cute. That's all I got to say. Because if you're gonna be, if you're paying $65,000,
Hoppy's number 9 when he walked, huh?
something, he better have been absolutely adorable. But yeah, it is Minneapolis in the year following the George Floyd killing. They spent $152,000 on private security for city council members. Okay, but you can't have a gun, I can't have a gun, and they can't have a gun unless it's their job to protect. So this whole thing of constitutional carry, or you're your own first responder, or understanding that if you're not absolutely rich, then they're sending a signal, and the signal is, if you don't have money, your life isn't worth anything.
The thing is it seems funny that they pay that much money for security when they have already police forces that are under their control somewhere along the line.
They're not going to assign a police officer to them because the police guys are like, I already have stuff to do. Right? So if you want security, I don't have a budget for your private security detail.
We should have to vote on their security guys. We get to say who gets to be their 911.
So they get what is that, Paul Blart? Wasn't that it? Mall cop? They're getting mall cop, right? It's just, if you're passing legislation to say that I cannot defend myself, yet you're also then reaching into the public coffers, my coffers, the money that I pay in, to then be able to say, oh, well, you've got to pay for my security.
It's funny, they say, we ain't got no money, but it looks like they spend it on every kind of thing. If we didn't spend it on all this stuff, imagine how much money they would have.
We'd have money. We would have money. When you look at a city's budget, you'd be like, yeah, no. You're shopping at Aldi's, not at Tiffany's, right? I mean, there is conversations about that type of a thing. I don't know. I just don't know. Um, but politicians, you know, it's got to stop. If they say no guns, then they shouldn't be allowed to have guns. If they say defund the police, then they shouldn't be allowed to have police protection.
Well, they should have the same police we got, the 4-hour wait for it to get there.
If they come.
Yeah.
They should have the Uvalde police.
Right, I mean, so that's the thing. When they need one, they just call it just like everybody else does. And if he happens to be at the other end of the county,
you wait.
You gotta wait.
You gotta wait. Or he's doing something else. You gotta wait. You know? Or if he doesn't feel like going in the building, you gotta wait.
Yep.
That's kind of where that is, because they're saying there's nothing wrong with that. You know? Well, I think there's a whole lot wrong with that. If you take the paycheck to say that you are going to do something, and then you decide at the minute in which you have to do something that you're not doing that.
Well, some of it is depending on how they were trained as to if they're supposed to wait for other people to come or whether you're supposed to just go in. I mean, not everybody is Chuck Norris.
I get that. But there were 300 police officers by the time they decided to go in the building.
See, backup finally showed up,
huh? Yeah. That's ridiculous. I mean, there's
how
a
long
spot.
Prior to that, did the guy with the gun from the barbershop make it in?
Oh, it was right in there. That's when he made it through, because he had to push through them. But they were all just queued up, and he's like, he ain't waiting. So, and the guy the guy from the barbershop who was getting a haircut, he was mid-haircut, and he borrowed the shotgun from the barber. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to read that first note.
Everybody should go to one that has a shotgun in its hand.
Well, there is that. Okay, so in California, the Highway Patrol does security for the governor. Okay. I do not.
I think our Highway Patrol does security for our governor too.
It may be.
I think you get governor detail where you get to wear your fancy uniform all day long.
There you go.
Every day.
With the hats. There you go. Yeah, I just look at this and it's like, what is fair, and if you're voting for something, yet you're I mean, it's sort of like there's Scrooge McDuck that sat on his little piles of gold and counted it all, right? And so if you're a politician that is sitting there with your armed security detail, then voting that nobody else gets to have, they can't afford armed security, so they have to be their own armed security, and then you're saying, yeah, no, you're not allowed. You are just not allowed, because we're not liking that. No.
I think there's nothing going to be done about that. It's kind of like letting them vote on their own term limits.
There's term limits. There are. You're right.
It should make it so that the Senate has to vote on the House's term limits, and the House has to vote on the Senate. So that both of them have to fight nice.
Well, they're maybe. I don't know. It's just
if your pay raises and your term limits and everything
came from the other team, right? Then they have to be, or it's voted on by the team that's in power or not in power. Maybe it's voted on by the team that's not in power, so that all of a sudden they get a chance of being in power, and then all of a sudden nobody gets a chance. Well, whatever. I don't know. It's just
like I said, we have definitely a two-tiered justice system. It's the haves and the have-nots, and
right.
We're seeing it in every level of local and
everything,
national.
Federal and local. So we'll be back right after this.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so we have been talking to our listening audience about the Supreme Court case Rahimi. And so Rahimi is the case that has worked its way through the system, and the oral arguments were heard by the Supreme Court. It's really interesting right now to watch what the mainstream media
some of
is
the
saying.
liberal slant on that is it's all about that we're going to give criminals guns, and the Supreme Court doesn't care about little people or anything.
So we're giving criminals guns is coming later, but okay. Now in this case, so you're right. You're very right, because really what it is there was a guy who had a protection order filed against him. So it was protection order. They gave him a charge of domestic violence. They never, he didn't get due process. There was no jury. There was no lawyer. There was no criminal conviction. There was an accusation. And with that accusation, they took away his Second Amendment
But
rights.
the thing was, is the guy already had multiple felonies and other things
That
they
was-
could have
no, that
taken.
was-
But they could have taken his stuff from there. But they didn't charge him with any of that stuff. They charged him with this having a gun under disability because of this.
But he didn't have the, when they did this, he didn't have the felonies. And so then they said, you used a gun to do something. Now we're going for the felony. So this kind of, not that he's a model citizen by any means, but this started the steamroller down the hill, flattening things as it goes. But the interesting part, I mean, it really is not a, it's not about domestic violence. It really is about fundamental rights. Can fundamental rights that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights, it's not like,
Well,
can you drive a
and
car,
the
your
thing is,
car kind of
if
thing.
the guy was guilty of domestic violence, then they could take his gun away. There's no problem.
But
It's
he
the fact
needs
that
a
he was
jury
just
trial, a
accused.
lawyer, and a
Right.
conviction.
In this here, he was just accused.
Correct.
It's he said, she said, and the judge made the determination without him being able to argue the
Nothing.
point or
Mhm.
anything.
Right.
So this is where the problem is that you're guilty before you're proven guilty.
So a fundamental right can be nullified by a judge because he doesn't like it.
Right, so if you're a speeder or you don't drive an electric car or maybe you don't pay for having your trash recycled,
There's-
they could take your rights away from
Oh,
you.
there's so much. I mean,
Maybe
when you
if too
really,
much your rainwater runs off on the yard.
there's so many different things that if they don't like it, then they could address it, right? But the news, on the other hand, takes they don't strive to understand. So the mainstream media does not strive to understand. Headlines say, should domestic abusers have guns? The U.S. Supreme Court is going to decide in United States versus Rahimi. Another headline, Supreme Court gun case could reverse protections for domestic violence survivors. One woman has a message for the justices. Okay. If they've done something bad, use the court system, give them due process, and then throw the book at them. And as they say, book them, Dano. Right? I mean, do something and then put them in jail for the bad things they've done, not the bad
Right,
things
but
they're
this is
accused
just
of
where
doing.
They're just using the big stick to get their way without proving anything that you've done anything really wrong.
Well, USA Today believes that the Supreme Court is going to side with Rahimi. Their headline says Supreme Court poised to support Supreme Court is poised to support a law banning domestic abusers from owning guns. How about banning accused domestic abusers?
Well, the thing
from owning
is,
guns?
in reality, and the Supreme Court's already said this in other arguments, that because he has not been actually charged or found guilty of anything, it's unconstitutional for them to hold him to those standards. So
Right.
they're going to reheat that again and come out and just reaffirm that Bruin says winning. And,
Exactly. And so what's going to happen, kids? What is going to happen is they are going to have to start to deal with criminal reform,
Right,
not
timeout chair is
gun
done.
reform.
We're done with that timeout chair.
We are. So
We're gonna start
the,
with the electric chair.
the New York Times, the New York Times, their headline says the Supreme Court seems likely to uphold law disarming domestic abusers. So they're thinking that they're going to uphold the law to take the guns away. They are the only people who think that is what's going to happen. So it's really kind of funny. So New York Times thinks that Rahimi's losing. USA Today thinks that Rahimi's going to win. It's an interesting thing, and everybody though is making it about domestic abusers and not those who are convicted.
The problem we have is that nobody reads anymore. We're our soundbite society, and we only go by what the headline says. So we never hear what the whole story is. And when they can bring it out and make it, I don't know what you want to call it here, sensational, and
Titillating.
Then you remember that tagline, even though the whole thing may not have anything at all to do about that.
Right.
So it's we've seen it multiple times. We're going to see it again because it works, because the public school has taken away our critical thinking skills.
Well, the interesting part in so many cases is the guy who wrote the article and the guy who writes the headline have never met, have never talked, and nobody's read each other's work, right? I mean, so there is. Oh, what's the topic here? Let me come up with a scandalous subject line so that people will read it. They call that clickbait, but
well, I mean, we used to buy those newspapers at the store because it told
inquiring minds want to know those newspapers.
Then it got to where those were actually more accurate than the regular news, and so they kind of done away with them.
Yeah, they just kind of slowly went away. They did, but
there's nothing
there's nothing as
you
far
can't get out of the normal news now.
They're no longer far-fetched. They're not. They're just sort of fetched, right? They just are not. They can't be.
They say that conspiracy theory today is actual news 2 weeks from now.
Oh, there is so much of it. So I think that you're going to hear something from the Supreme Court on whether someone accused of domestic violence, are they subject to a court-issued restraining order? Can they take away any of their rights, whatever the rights are that they're looking at to say today that they don't like, It would be the same thing as saying, oh, well, look, I don't like what you're doing, so I am going to, I want to make sure that you're doing things right, so I'm going to house troops in your house, because then they'll keep an eye on you, right? I mean, we would lose our minds if they came in and said, okay, we're going to put the police right there at your house. You'll be all good with that, because we need to keep an eye on you. You're not liking that.
I can imagine in a couple of days he would come to my side. He'd come to the dark side.
You'd be educating them.
Me and Rocco would set him straight.
Oh, I think he'd cause his arteries to harden with a diet of sausage and bacon. So there's that. So, hey, folks, thanks for listening to Eye on the Target Radio. We'll be back for the second hour right after these messages. 6 says that Feinstein claimed that she was an expert on guns because she'd seen thousands of pictures of them. And then he went on to say that may make him a gynecologist because pictures, We'll just move on from that.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, we have the best listeners. We have people who are completely engaged in what we're doing and what we're talking about. So over the news break, I was sent a New York Post article that I want to read to you, just a couple pieces of it. So the headline, because we're talking about the Rahimi case, we're talking about should someone be allowed to have a gun if they've not been charged, not been convicted as a felon. So there's that. But the second part is how about if they've paid their debt to society? So we're back to criminal reform, right?
When they were given a job interview to that
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yep. That was one of the questions on her thing was about the fact that if the guy was a felon, he went to prison when he got out, should they restore his rights? And she said as long as he was not actively using that gun at the time he turned into a felon, then yes, you should. So there's that. But I mean, so there's the mindset of, crimes of what's the word? Violence, crimes of violence. But look at this. This is a Chicago judge. Chicago armed robber is allowed to walk free after the judge rules it unconstitutional to ban felons from owning guns. Okay, so think about this. Armed robber is allowed to walk free because the judge rules it unconstitutional to ban. It sounds like it's more the problem with the guy who's writing whatever he was doing wrong. Because if he was an armed robber, even if they take the arm part off, he's still a robber.
Right, they should have charged that.
So
yeah.
Should be something charged.
But if they only charged him with the gun crime, and the judge went, yeah, the gun crime isn't a crime.
Right.
Right, but there is that.
So that's the thing is that I think that some of these prosecutors are going to need to rethink.
They need to go back to prosecutor school.
Right.
For criminal reform, prosecutor school. So, so this guy, again, not a stellar individual. He's 37 years old. He has already had 3 armed robberies and aggravated battery of a police officer on his record when he was arrested for robbing 3 men on a Chicago train. So there's that. But they're saying that this is a bank. Oh, I was thinking bank robbery, but it's armed robber. I was thinking bank robbery, but it's not. It's armed robbery. I got it. I was like, man, oh man. But so the judge readily admits that violence plagues our communities, and allowing those who potentially pose a threat to the orderly functioning of society to be armed is a dangerous precedent. So allowing people who have done crimes of violence, who are a threat to the peaceable functioning of society, is a dangerous precedent. I concur with that 100%. Except,
the thing is, we for the last 100 years, say from 1900 on, they've decided that the gun was the bad guy, and so they focused on the gun instead of on the criminal.
Right.
And the same with the, they lump suicides in with homicides and everything, because it's the gun's fault and not
personal decision.
Right,
I mean,
not mental health. It's not personal decisions. It's not any of that stuff. And so we need to separate this out again and start to charging people for what they're doing, or to look at the people like the suicide. There's an article here about Wisconsin was looking at gun deaths and realized that 71% of their gun deaths were suicides instead of.
So they need to do something about suicide prevention.
Right, and the gun is only chosen as a suicide thing because it's effective. I mean, it works really good. Where if you do something else, pills or whatever, somebody might be able to save you, and that ain't what you're looking for.
Right.
So, it's,
Okay, so you've once again switched topics on me before I was done making the point I wanted to make. But okay.
Well, whatever, just keep going.
I can't keep going because it's like squirrel. We've just headed off in a completely different direction.
It's all tied together. It's all one big mess.
It's
like a
really
ball of string, and you pull this one, and it looks to that one, and
so, and then this one gets tighter, and so there's all of that. So the interesting part is that you keep saying Bruin, right? So this judge is making the Bruin case for you. He really is. He says, although there are strong policy reasons for doing everything possible to keep guns off our street and out of our community, this court can find no such historical analog. So history doesn't support it, though their policies, current policies of the day do. So he has gone back. So the Bruin case has 1791 in history, text, and tradition is the number that they use as the litmus test to say, was it in place in 1791? He has said he's researched rulings as far back as Rhode Island in 1677 and the New Netherlands. I wonder what that is now. The New Netherlands in 1639 and found no such precedent for the ban. So he cannot find any historical support for the hysterical banning of guns, if you will. And so we have policies that say, there's strong policies that say that we're going to get rid of guns, but it's not supported by history, it's not supported by text, it's not supported by tradition, it is supported by someone's agenda.
The New Netherlands was the first Dutch colony in North America, extended from Albany, New York in the north to the Delaware on the south, encompassing parts of what is now parts of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and Delaware.
Well, there you go. So
Thank
it was
you, Google.
Thank you, Google. So the New Netherlands was a pretty big space. It was a pretty big space. So it's really pretty interesting. This Bruin is so far-reaching, and these court cases are happening so many places that you can't hardly see
when
them
they
all.
do find that something in this that's historically relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It was aimed at the American Indian or the free black slaves at the time or something.
Right.
And so
because there was somebody trying to hold the man down that they didn't. You know, I don't like the look of your face. I don't like the look on your skin. I don't like the look of your religion. I don't like the look of something, and I'm going to hold you down because of it.
Even if there was a law at that time, it's so distasteful to the modern age.
Well, yeah, because they picked on you because of you.
Right. So they're going to overlook even those laws that were listed then due to the fact that they were only aimed at the American Indian or the.
Well, yeah. If it's not far-reaching, if it is solely this class of American citizen, this class of human being, then no. It'd be like right now.
You know, I mean, and it's funny because when you look at this stuff, they have the slave, and then they have the freeman that was a previous slave or that came over to this country on his own without.
Right.
The indentured servitudiness of whatever, and but they still link the free man in with the American Indian or with the slave to be a second-class citizen,
and we've come a long way. And we've absolutely come a long way, and we won't allow them to take that backwards. You know, we will stand shoulder to shoulder, so that it doesn't matter how different we are in height and weight and size and color and
I got an argument here.
What?
When we talk about the free man and then how they link in between the slave and the regular white American settler
at that time, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We today have regular U.S. citizens, and we have naturalized citizens, and then we have illegal aliens.
Right.
And there are three different classes of Americans that
Wait. Except, no. There are three different classes of human beings.
Right,
Because
and
an illegal
that are in-
alien is not an American
so there's three
citizen.
different classes of human beings inside of this. Two are allowed to be here, and one is not.
So it would be like three people being in your house, and one of them broke in and two of them lived there, or two of them were invited in, or one guy lived there, one guy came to
Right,
dinner,
okay.
and then a third guy came in
his drunken buddy.
because he wanted to, right? The question is, do you treat them all the same, or do you ask one to leave? So we could get into a whole conversation on that, but we're out of time. We'll be back right up to this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So week after week, we have been talking to you about the Biden administration and the Department of Justice and the Commerce Department putting a pause on approving export permits for guns and ammo. And they said that they've made a few exceptions, Ukraine, Israel, and most of the NATO countries. But by shortening all of the other places that we can export to, and oh, by the way, the list of places we can export to already restricts those who are enemies to the United States. You hear people strike and talk about ITAR and EAR and things to be able to say that we're not supposed to give guns to our enemies or leave guns with our enemies. Wait. Oh, I think we did that. But we're not supposed to do that. So, but right now we put a pause, a 90-day pause on that. So first thing it does is it affects the United States economy by $1 million a day by this pause. $1 million a day. So the Senate is asking the Senate and the Homeland Security Committee is asking the Department of the Commerce Department. They're asking questions and they're saying, please tell us why. Tell us why. Please explain the reasoning for this pause and identify the specific U.S. national security and foreign policy interests that are part of this reasoning. Go ahead. We'll wait. Tell us. So they're supposed to give an answer by November 30th.
Well,
and
it's because Israel wants 24,000 M4s, and we went.
Well, they're saying that Israel is not excluded. Slow
Joe
walking.
Joe Biden said different.
Right. Has this group held a meeting with the firearms and ammunition industry stakeholders since making this announcement? There's all of these questions. So did they, did the agency engage with advocacy organizations prior to the October 27th announcement? Advocacy organizations? That would be the new White House Department of Gun Safety? Would that be the one? You mean the one that they just built into the White House that we're paying for?
You gotta feel good about a guy whose brother-in-law got him a cushy job in the White House or in one of these gun safety advocacy things in whatever big major city.
Well, when you're sitting there going, I hate guns, I hate guns, I hate guns, you're now in charge.
They don't really have a job. They just got a paycheck, and as long as they make some squeaky noises so the newspaper covers them once in a while.
They have a mantra to roll out. They have a mantra to roll out. Though they did roll out to say that Gabby Giffords and the Giffords agency.
She says she's anti-gun. Take them all, blah blah blah. But they say no. She doesn't mean that.
She doesn't mean that. And she's like, oh yeah, I mean that. Yes, I mean that. And so it's pretty interesting. So we're gonna continue with this story and watch this space because it's slowly leaking out week over week over week. You're hearing more about it.
And the problem that they have is that they're not gonna take the guns away, no matter what they do. I mean, the Confederacy could set up along a river and make guns in a couple of hours and then tear down and move downstream with some. And we are every bit as capable as the Confederacy was in 1865 outdoors under a tent. So the general handyman today has more tools than the Confederate Army had at their disposal.
They have less sense, but more tools. Right? They have less mechanical aptitude and abilities.
Yeah, but you could be YouTube certified in an hour. So no matter what you want to know, somebody will show you how to do it. And all you do is know how to ask the question. I mean, it may, whether you want to build a gun or you want to show you how to fix the brake hub on your car.
I've been going to a physical therapist online, a YouTube physical therapist. I'm telling you, it's pretty cool because you can sit there and go, yeah, that's what I got. Let me do this. Right?
That's like going to a doctor online.
No. A doctor online
actually
interacts with you. The physical therapist online is you do the Google to the YouTube, and there you go.
Jack LaLanne was an online physical therapist back in the day.
He was an online hottie that was doing exercises, and I don't believe that everybody watched them for the exercises. I think they watched them for. That was like the first guy that you could see muscle tone.
Oh.
That wasn't built into 3 suit jackets and a vest, right? I mean, here's a guy that's.
So it was 1950s porn, is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's. I never thought of it like that.
I'm just gonna say.
You just opened my eyes. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Jack LaLanne videos again.
There you go. Well, it'd be like some of those.
Some of that flexing and.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just a little bit of that. My Henry doesn't have muscle tone like that. I think I just got to watch this eye candy just a little bit.
I'll buy him one of these exercise bars that hooks in the doorway.
And I'll say that my friend Jack does this. Maybe you ought to try it. Maybe. What do you think? No?
I don't.
You don't think so, huh?
I can see why dad bods are popular.
Well, they're easy. They're absolutely. They're way easier.
I bought mine with pizza and coffee.
As opposed to tights.
Hard work and exercise.
Hard work, exercise. And I'm just not sure that you're the tights wearing kind of physique.
Oh, you know it. You've been not catch me in short sleeve pants.
No, you would look like Big Bird. Just saying, with your skinny little legs, you would look like. How did we get to talking about Jack LaLanne anyhow? Oh, YouTube certified. I was like, where did that come from? I was like, I can't even remember where that path took us. Man, sometimes, but you are right. You can see how to do something. I learned how to cut 45-degree angles for the trim that I'm putting up. Watching YouTube.
I mean, there's so much stuff on today that instead of reading a book and having to understand what they're doing, they'll show you an actual video in that slow motion, doing it from 3 different angles to show you exactly what you're doing. A monkey could do it.
Back up, watch it again. So we'll be back right after these messages.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so we are the week before Thanksgiving. And so TSA has got a message for all of us. If you are a gun person, if you are a concealed carry holder, if you are going to fly with a gun, know that you are flying with a gun. Don't be like, oops.
Right, shake out your luggage, empty your coat pockets.
Get rid of the extra bullets. Yep. Make sure that there's not an extra gun hidden in your backpack.
If you're in doubt, buy a new suitcase or backpack for the trip. Because,
just start pocket by pocket and go through it.
It's downright very embarrassing when they have to call for more security.
We need supervision over here. Is that it?
Right.
We have friends. Well, we have friends, but we have had friends who've had instances. Did you ever hear of the story of where somebody had a magazine in their pocket in their suitcase, and so security's saying, we have a magazine, and they're like, yeah, I picked it up at the magazine counter, and it's got articles in there that I want to read. And so how dare you tell me that you are not only restricting, all of my other rights, you are restricting my right to read a magazine.
Didn't realize that it was the other type of magazine.
So they went into a hair on fire tirade to the TSA guy until the TSA guy held it up, and it was the magazine that fits in the firearm. It was not a document. It was not a periodical.
I mean, in some cases, you could say, throw it out. I don't care. In other cases, that thing cost me $75. I better
go find an envelope, right? Whatever that envelope is, right, to be able to get it home. But so go through your stuff and double check it, and then if you want to fly with a gun, it is not hard to fly with a gun. It is a little more time consuming. Every airport is different. Right. Every airline is different.
I can tell you, if you're in Ohio going somewhere, piece of cake. If you're in Arizona going somewhere, not so much.
Not so much. I actually believe that the hardest place to fly with a gun in or out of was Elmira, New York, but it might just have been my TSA agent because she was going to make sure that her checkpoint was making all of America safe. And so I okay, got it. But it was a little long to be able to go through that. But if you're going to fly with a gun, call the airline and ask or look up their set of rules on the internet because everybody's got a slightly different set of rules, but in general it's put the gun and the ammunition in the ammunition in its original box and put it into a locked box with a lock that only you have the key to, not a TSA compliant lock. It needs to be a lock that only you have the key to. And then that can then be locked into your suitcase or can be held into your suitcase. When you get to the counter, you're going to declare it. And they're going to make you fill out forms. And that's generally...
I've had some of them where you have to just write down something and they put it in the suitcase with it. Other ones, they just throw a little tag in there, close the lid, and that's what it goes. So it's not...
No, but except that you get to you flying out of Phoenix, and they are going to slap on the big blue gloves, and they are going to inspect everything.
We had also... when the one time when they shot up the airport in Fort Lauderdale or something, we, instead of the luggage coming out on the luggage rack like usually, we had to go to the airline office and pick our luggage up.
And they had zip tied it shut so that you could not get, if you were flying with a gun, you could not get your gun out at the airport because you weren't allowed to have anything sharp to be able to get the zip ties open. Right. So, but that seems to have, as a thing, its time is over. It has come. It is gone. But it really is. It's fairly easy.
Right.
And
if it's not easy, pick another airline the next time.
Well, there's some of that. And then
also do your research because if you're flying somewhere where it's got a connector in New York or something, they're trying to play some fancy games at that point too. So if you get off the plane and collect your luggage, and
you cannot collect your luggage,
you're in trouble. If you get off the plane and they automatically load it on the next plane and the way you go, then you're fine. But
yeah, you cannot collect your luggage. So if for some reason they do something and you are done there, you don't get your luggage back. It has to go to your end destination, whatever that is, and it has to be, you have to be able to have it where you are going. So if you're flying with a gun, there's responsibilities to it, and you have to do your homework. But it's really not that hard. If you're flying with a long gun, generally you're paying an overage fee. It's kind of like flying with golf clubs, and so it depends on whether the weight is over and that kind of thing. And most of them only allow 11 pounds of ammunition. Though 11 pounds of ammunition is quite a bit.
Unless you're going on safari for the summer.
Right.
Then you have to ship your ammunition in a separate UPS truck.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So what else you got story-wise?
Oh, there's a ton of stuff. You know how everybody hates us.
Okay.
Here's one. Let's see. The newspaper's doing some discovery work on gun deaths because that's the new catchphrase.
Right.
And then they realized that 71% of people in Wisconsin actually that were related to gun deaths were suicides, and then 25% were homicides, and then 2% were accidents or police-involved shootings. So it really turned out to be that it wasn't the thing that they were expecting.
No.
But it opens up another line of we need to do something about mental health. And we talk about it, but we never do anything about it. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. There's a sheriff in Nebraska who's saying that the the way the laws are written, that you either have to be adjudicated mentally defective, or by a judge, or by a
The state's board of mental health, yeah.
right. And he said that that's too restrictive. He says that when they pick someone up for a 72-hour probable cause for some kind of a temporary
That they're
thing.
a risk to themselves or a risk to
Right.
others. Yeah.
So if he's holding them, that should put them in a category that they need evaluated to see if they should be allowed to have a gun. Because when they're done with their 72 hours, they can just go buy a gun without a problem. He says right now there's no thing in there. So he's saying that this 72-hour mental health evaluation is pretty telling thing, and that if you're subject to it, then you need further review.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see if he's really willing to put the rubber to the road, or if he is saying, because again, this is that thing where you have to, I've either done something or I've not, and you can't be the thought police. And if I am a threat to myself or others, then you need to do something with me, and then that would
Right,
there are
but
laws
that's what it
allowing
says.
that.
If he hauls you in and puts you in, and then you have to go see a therapist afterwards too.
But if they do a 72-hour mental health evaluation, okay, so they do that, they're either going to say, yep, he's wacko, or no, he's not. If it's no, he's not, he's free to go. If he says, yes, he is, then they shouldn't let him out into society. Right? Again.
Well, that's when you go to the 3-judge panel, because who do you want to say that you're not wacko? I've hung out with you a lot. I mean, there could be some gray areas there that.
Hey, there could be some gray areas there. Listen to
Think about it. Almost every one of your friends, the reason why you picked them is because they're a little bit off center.
Well, there's an off center, and then there is a threat to yourself and others. Because frankly, think about this, Rob. If I were the violent type who would just snap and hurt somebody, you would have been hurt a long time ago.
Yep. So she's harmless, right?
I'm harmless because I have not bludgeoned you. I have not cuffed you upside your head. I have not done any of those I've not even sprayed you with a garden hose when maybe you needed it. Right?
You needed it.
I think that I'm perfectly fine, and I have
See?
I have a history
I
right
think
there.
There's some gray areas in there.
I think there's some gray areas.
Need to shine a light in there on some of that.
Just to look at it, go and say, nope, nothing in there. Not finding anything. But no, it really isn't something to joke about. I mean, there's a spot where families know that they have somebody that needs help.
It's funny when it's not funny, but every one of them says, "Oh well, we knew blah 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 was doing this."
Yeah, but did they really know it, or was it that
they say that, but did they mean it? Or when they say that, they weren't. Before that, they just thought that he was harmless until.
Or they're just going unnoted, right? That's it. I don't know. I don't know. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
So, if you've got a concealed carry license, and if you're carrying, and if you're forced to use that gun to defend yourself, defend your family, what do you think the first thing that some states, a state, this guy's state, did?
No, it's hard to say, but the first thing they're probably going to do is take your gun away from you temporarily so that you can't just keep on your hunting spree.
Well, they haven't charged him. There looks like there is no legitimate grounds to charge him, yet they pulled and revoked his concealed carry license. So they didn't take his gun, they took his license, so he can't carry his gun.
So it's a one-time use thing, right?
Maybe that's what it looks like. So on Friday, the National Rifle Association posted a video on X, formerly Twitter, where Vince...
Is this the homeowner from Los Angeles that was the armed people coming in, and then
he was in like an alleyway headed to his house, and
right,
he turned...
Because you can see, I seen the video, you can see the guy with the gun come towards him. They fought for a little bit.
He threw his coffee at him first, distracted them, pulled his gun. But yeah.
Right, but then they come together, they fought a little bit, and then they separated, and he come up with his gun, And the other guy took off running, and this guy shot a couple shots down this hallway, but that was as much of the video they showed me.
Right. So the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office told him that his concealed carry permit was being suspended because he yelled at officers when they arrived at his home. Use your words. Obviously, he was like, he says he was yelling because the deputies were doing a poopy job in their investigation, and so he was yelling at them because they were missing things or something. So, but there's a spot where you just had to use your gun. I think that emotions are running just a smidge high.
Right. Normally, you would think that they would have already had that guy in the cop car all tuned up so that he could keep his mouth shut back there till they got a chance to deal with him.
Right. So, is there some place in the Constitution that says that you have to talk nice to everybody else?
I don't. Donald Trump's going through the same thing, I think, right now.
Okay, because there's nothing in here. He didn't lay hands on him. He didn't threaten him.
He didn't Twitter him or nothing, right?
No, he didn't. He didn't do any of that.
X them or something. Formerly Twitter,
Yep.
how they say that now.
So, and I mean, frankly, if he were out of line, that's when they cuff him to allow emotions to settle, right? Take his gun, cuff him, question him, and go. But instead, they waited till later, and then they pull his permit. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So, is it really? I mean, Tom Knighton really nails this, and he says, was this guy stripped of his permit for being impolite? Right? I mean, what was the reason for why they took his permit?
Well, statistics show that you have like a 1 chance in like 422,000 of being the victim, and since he already used his 1 chance, they figure he doesn't gonna need it no more.
There you go. He's got his ticket punched. He's good to go, right? That's it. So that should be the same thing where if you've been in a car accident, you don't need insurance anymore because
or seatbelts or any of that stuff.
Right. You've already paid your
debt to society.
Exactly. I don't think it works that way.
Oh.
I think you've got the same chance again the very next day.
They have proven that lightning strikes twice or 3 times.
We've seen people win the lottery over and over, and other people never and never. right. So yeah.
Can't even get my $4 back.
Exactly. So I don't think it quite works that way, but it's an interesting thing. But watch that video because you'll see just how fast things happen. And this dude in California said his wife and his 5-month-old baby were on the other side of the door that he was defending.
You know, the thing is, like you say, but look at how fast this happened.
Right.
I mean, he had his gun in his pocket ready to roll. If he had to go into the house to get his gun, or he had to find his ammo because it's in a separate spot, or had to work a combination.
Right, or even just to cycle.
A couple weeks ago, we had talked about somebody else that they said that the people kicked in the front door and came in, they had less than 20 seconds of notice. Yeah. So if you are not just actually sitting on your loaded gun, you're behind the 8 ball for sure, and you're not going to catch up at this point.
No, you absolutely are not. And so this will be interesting, but the NRA has picked it up to showcase it.
Oh, you know what I seen the other day?
What'd you see?
The news media is saying that the NRA is sagging in its effectiveness.
Giffords started it. So Gabby Giffords in her
they're
Twitter
saying
account.
that the next big the next giant in the room that's sitting in the dark waiting to crawl at them is the Gun Owners of America.
Is Eric Pratt, Gun Owners of America.
Give him a shout out and kudos.
I sent him a copy of that article because I was like, my congratulations on scaring the left is what I told him. And it says, the headlines say that as the NRA fades, a more zealous U.S. pro-gun group rises as the lobbying power. So they are more zealous, Gun Owners of America, than the NRA. That's an interesting thing, because you cannot find a nicer guy than Eric Pratt. I mean, you just cannot. So Gun Owners of America is a no compromise group that does it very politely.
And they're in all the courts. So if you're watching, if there's somebody suing, it's GOA.
GOA, Firearms Policy Coalition, GOA, Second Amendment Foundation, followed up by the NRA. So the NRA is in the game, but they are not in the game as hard as SAF is the primary, and then the other two are right in there. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm amazed at how much ground we're gaining back. I mean, the fact that we were always in a compromise situation where what are we giving up next? What are we giving up next? We've never been in where we're gaining ground and taking back some of the stuff that they took away from us 50 years ago.
I know, and it is interesting. I stopped at a gun shop the other day, and I was talking to one of the guys that runs the gun shop. So not just a clerk guy, but like one of the operations guys. And it was a really bougie, nice gun shop down Columbus Way. And so we were talking, and I said something about Bruin, and he kind of tilted his head like Nipper the dog, like, what? And I was like, oh, no. You don't understand. Let's start to talk about what the Supreme Court did, because Bruin is a bigger case. Heller came out in 2008, and then Bruin came out in 2022. And those are the two biggest Second Amendment cases through the Supreme Court that there have ever been. And Bruin is the gift that keeps on giving, has not stopped. And so we started to talk about history, text, and tradition, 1791, and then we started to talk about when these other laws went into effect. And you could see the light come on. You could see it click with them. You could see it, but we've not done a great job of explaining how that is and what that really means to us.
I've seen it right away, but I still only see a real small view of this.
Right.
I think it's much more farther reaching than even my little pea brain can handle.
It's going to be big. It's going to be way big. But it's really fun watching somebody else and watching them see it. So, folks, we'll see you again next week. Have a nice week.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. realizefac.org.